we also, that Francis, you will take that up, how to strengthen the church so that it can be attractive to men. There is Wanatemo. We are talking about the traditional way of marriage, and also if we have taken vows and we have gone the traditional way, how do we come back? That was in your lesson, so you also take that up. But let me handle number 2 from Onesimus. Onesimus, and our former DSG will also handle number 3 about baptism, infant baptism, where you baptize a child, unachukua kutoka kwa mumama kwa sababu ndiye furu meba. Ati ndiye anachukua vows vile atalea huyu mtoto, and then once you do the baptism ceremony, and then unamrudisha kwa mumama, and then wase wanatoka hicho wanasema mtoto amebaki kwa kanisa na wamama. That also falls on you. But now, concerning homosexuality, I want to say that it is not biblical. It is not accepted. There is no room for it. Either, even in the traditional way of doing things, homosexuality is not acceptable. Whether in the biblical part of it, it's not acceptable. And you can be sure that even animals don't practice it. Animals don't practice it. I don't know how we can go lower than animals, that people would think of having homosexuality, taking themselves down, even lower than animals. There was also a bill of it from Onesimus, councils of elders, that some people have already gone to councils of elders, and the way of coming back. Let me say this. Now, that's from my own view. I happened to be in Kajiado, where the Maasai culture is led by a council of elders. But they don't go to that extreme, ya kwamba kuna shida katikati ya the religion, our faith, and their culture. They take the religion, they take the faith, they take Christianity and make it wonderful in their culture. You go to Kajiado and you start singing, and immediately they engage their way of dancing in the Christianity. When we are clapping and jumping, wanaanza tu kuifanya namna hii. Kuifanya Roho na saa hiyo roho wanachuka kabisa. Unaona wamefanya mpaka namna hii. Wanafanya namna hii. Unauliza ni nini inaendelea, watu kwa kanisa wanaendelea. Unaambiwa sasa wameingia kwa culture kabisa. So there are some practices that are acceptable, the way people are brought up, the way we can bring Christianity into culture, and it is good. But again, now when it comes to some other practices, we discourage. There is also that issue of early marriage. Early marriages, unakuta kasichana kakiwa namna hii, kanapimwa upande ya nyuma na mkono. Nyuma na mkono. Kama nyuma imetokezea, hako kametosha. Kametosha kuwa mama. We discourage that. So we want to give this child time kukua na kuendelea. So homosexuality, it's an abomination. It is sin in all dimensions. Uiangalie kutoka pande gani, it cannot be accepted. May the Lord continue blessing us. I will kindly request Daktari to come over. You have the better portion. Then Francis, we will.
Thank you. Let's appreciate Reverend Michael. Daktari, you have like 4 minutes.
4 minutes, that's okay.
Yes.
In the 4 minutes, the time we have does not allow us sometimes really to go in details. But what we must endeavor is to give you the principle, so that even though the circumstances may be different, if you have the principle, you have the right thing, right? Let me start from the question of our brother, Mr. Engineer Maina. You quoted John Calvin. Let me repay you with a contemporary theologian. That's where I want to begin. He's called Millard Erickson. When that theologian is discussing about church, he says as follows, I paraphrase: any church that wants to grow by lowering the standards of discipline so that it can increase its membership eventually dies. Let me restate. Any church that lowers its standard of discipline with a view to increase the membership, the numbers, eventually dies. What I hear, and most of the questions you have asked, reflect the popular opinion by men in the Presbyterian Church. It is a quest to invite the church to lower the standards so that you can come in. That should never happen. Let me explain. Indeed, John Calvin called for a reformation. And it was not him who began, it was Martin Luther. It was not Martin Luther who began. There were other people before Martin Luther, Melanchthon, all these, Ulrich Zwingli, all these people. But really, it is John Calvin who crystallized the Reformation. Now, here is the point. Let's take one example of baptism. Baptism. Catechism, I remind you, catechism. Wakati mlikuwa mnafunzwa katekisimu, mliambiwa hivi, if you remember your catechism, the rights of a full member in the Presbyterian Church are 4. 1, approach the Lord's table. 2, hold position of leadership. 3, vote in the church. And 4, present a child for baptism. Why are you asking the church to lower the standard of the rights of a full member so that we ingie? Is it the church to lower the standards or you to upgrade? Then upgrade. And sometimes people will say I am being harsh. But I would rather a church with 10 men who have met the discipline and the standards, as opposed to a crowd of men who know nothing about standards. That's the church our fathers gave us. Why do we want to hand to our sons a confused church? We must not do that. So on the claim that the church inachukua kwa mama na inafanya hii mambo ingine na inarudisha kwa mama, it's a question of the man upgrading. And men, we are created in such a way, we are the ones who set standards. If we lower the standards, where will our wives be? That's number 1. Number 2, on the case of separation, I wish to quote a colleague minister. I will not disclose the name, but it happened in our presbytery. The case is very fresh, 2 years ago. A man was married to a lady by marriage, Christian marriage, that's a covenant. And the marriage became too difficult. The lady ran away. The man filed for divorce, but the lady became too difficult. Actually, eloped with the lawyer processing the divorce. So the man comes after about 10 years. The man comes for pastoral session. First time, the pastoral session declines. The second time, this particular minister was the moderator of that session. When that case was brought, and this man went and remarried without having processed, cohabited with another woman. When the case was listened afresh, this is what the session ruled that this man, he has tried all he could to live right according to the law of the land and according to the church. But this woman, the first wife, has made it difficult. Do we keep punishing him for things he has not done? And the church ruled, the session ruled, both be accepted until such a time when the case is revisited, if it will ever be. And that is why it is called a pastoral session. They will listen. It's unlike the statutory session, the closed one. The statutory session, law is law. But pastoral session, they will listen to you. And in the wisdom of the minister and the elders, they will make the decision. So please encourage men to go for the pastoral session. I know there is stigma with pastoral session. There is stigma ati unaenda kuulizwa ulikula nini, kwa nini ulikula chakula kabla hatujaombea, sijui nini hii yote. Haungengoja. But we encourage, go to pastoral session. That stigma, please, engineer, encourage men. That stigma should not happen. Let me deal with the issue of circumcision and the issue of African worship. When you are dealing with any cultural practice, remember one of the statements I made is, culture is generally good, but there are bad things inside there, right? So any cultural practice, for example, circumcision, before you throw it away, and that is what the church has done, before you throw it away, look at the goals and objectives it was intended to meet. Before you demonize it. We were told, director, in the NCCK meeting, a gentleman from Kisiland shared a very interesting story. That if a young man dies, if he dies, they have to make sure that the penis is upright, not falling either way. They have to do it. Ati how? They do it.
And
Doesn't matter how they do it.
it has to be inspected that day of burial.
It has to be. Now, you see, is it a bad thing? Is it?
To them. It's their
Is it?
culture.
Me from Mount Kenya, I was so disturbed. How do you do that? This is demonic. But when it was explained, you see the sense in that cultural practice. They believe if the penis of the young man, my young man is buried with the penis facing either side, he will stop procreation in that homestead. So they are securing the lineage of the family. Yeah. You see, as now for me, because that's what I do, it will be take that cultural practice, remove the bad for me would be going to stroke that penis so that it is returning it to the right position. That is not right. But we must do something in such a manner that the family is assured their lineage is secure.
Dynamic
Right.
equivalence.
Yeah, yes, dynamic equivalence. We call that in theology, dynamic equivalence. What is equivalent? For example, circumcision. The church has removed all the madness and the drug taking and and you see when we were doing it, when we were going through it, girls would come. Okay, story for another day. And the church has removed all that which is bad, made it in a Christian environment. The cut is still done, the goal is still met, but at different circumstances. So any cultural practice, before you replace it, look for the dynamic equivalence. See here, mumesoma theologia. On the question of our forefathers, yes. Oh, 1 minute. Our forefathers deeply knew God. That's a fact. So the question is, why then should we have the Bible? I'm looking for a few words to explain it because it's something theological. You see, hymn number 72 in the Kikuyu hymnal, or sijui tenzi namba ngapi? Bwana Mungu nashanga kabisa nikitazama jinsi nyota, ngurumo, vitu vingi vyote viumbavyo kwa. In that song, how do we know God? How do we know God? Through creation. There are two ways in which you know God. One, through his creation. It's called general revelation. When you look at the sea, when you look at the creation. But general revelation, as it's called in theology, is inadequate. It's faulty. Culture belongs to general revelation. It's a human effort by limited people to talk of their God. So when God saw the limitation of general revelation, what did he do? He revealed himself by his word to specific people at specific times. So our fathers knew God through the creation. But now we have something superior of God himself, the word. That's why the Bible is used to judge the culture. Sinisimamia hapo.
Simamia hapo. Let's appreciate Dr. Daido. Wow. Get this. And the engineer you have proposed. If we get the right knowledge, general revelation is still limited. We need to go deeper to the special revelation, the journey of transformation. And Papa, asubuhi kuna maneno alinena. We are in the process of movement and becoming. So we should not be static. Now we allow Rev Francis now also to tackle baptism. Then we are done.
Praise the Lord. I think Dr. Vairo has said almost everything, but I want just to add. Number one, we are there for what engineer said, because except we as a church continue to empower, and we are there to empower within and even without, not only in knowledge of, like he has said, men alone, but all of us. One of the duties of the church is to empower. And I would think that through many avenues, the church has continued to empower men, but we are in the process, the becoming. Maybe you have not gone through, but surely we are not where we were yesterday. We are moving on. And that is why men have a voice. Remember, there was a time when we had only the guild and the youth movement. Men were nowhere. But during the time when the church said, through a resolution of the General Assembly, we want now to have men and have a voice from men. That is a great empowerment, isn't it? And therefore, there are quite a number of men outside there who see men in the church, and you know, many are associated, even when they are not with you. They always talk of the men of the Presbyterian church because you have a voice. And therefore, empowerment is not a one event, a one-time event. It is a process. And I think we are still within that process. Number two, I want to cover the whole of the questions that were asked. And Zairo has talked about the standard. Are we to lower the standard? Or is it the person to up his game or her game so that he can match with what is there? Many of the occasions, and the theologians, today's theologians, not even John Calvin and others who are bringing reformation, what we are saying is the standard of the church must remain. The standard of the institution must remain. Whoever comes, you must be trained. So that, and you must always accept to go with the standard of that institution. And therefore, like within the Presbyterian, what is our measure of our doing? Day in, day out. It is the Bible, isn't it? If you come to the congregation, you come to the session, you come to other institutions, and the Bible is put in front of you, it is read, and then you are always on the other side of the Bible, then you have fallen. It's only the grace that will bring you in. And the Bible itself is not many times used in our courts. We use what we call the P and P. That is the standard of our Presbyterian church. And I want to thank Dr. Dairo because you brought us the Bible on that side, but you also brought the P and P. What does it say? And I had told my brother there, even before he said, that there are 1,001 men who have been accepted in the Holy Communion. And maybe their ladies discontinued because of such a case that we were told here that has happened. But men, they feel that, the status, it cannot allow me to go. Furthermore, I'm going to, in front of those who, to there too. Furthermore, but when it comes to institution, it is an institution. So the PP again is our standard. And until it is changed, there is no way that we can go any other way. That is why the lady will bring the child, give the child to the minister. The minister will baptize. In fact, not even that. The lady will be asked to kneel, and the gentleman is standing behind. Then, after baptism, the lady will wake up, give the child, and then you go out. Or you go back to the seats, isn't it? So, the man is not touching the child in the church. And that is the standard of the church as per today. But you have been told, how can the men benefit on this? One of the things that I have, and Kamau, you are coming to my congregations, we had agreed. Because we have a mass wedding for all my men. And I'm sure they will come. Already I've got about 5 or 6 couples. Because people are coming for marriage, more so on marriage or on wedding, other than the marriage. And we are for the marriage. Marriage is a 15-minute issue, and that is gone. No, I'm not talking about the wedding ceremony. But you are getting into marriage. That event for marriage ceremony itself. Other than wedding ceremony. You know, wedding ceremony, it comes here in the church, it goes in the reception, it goes even to the honeymoon, it goes to the pictures and everything else. But it requires only 5 to 15 minutes for you to get into marriage, and full stop. And I think marriage doesn't even require, the government has realized this. And it doesn't go with any tradition that you go and rush here and whatever. They are saying, if you agree with this woman and you have accepted to sit and live with this woman for a period of 3 to 6 months, then the serikali itakupatia certificate, full stop. That is what is in the new law now. So the church would want to continue with the marriage ceremony. And the marriage ceremony, as I have said, it is only 10 to 15 minutes and you are gone. Iyo mambo mengine yote tuende tukaangalie na itakuwa mzuri. May God help us. And also, before you come to even the practice and procedure, churches, the courts, we have used the resolutions of the General Assembly, minutes of the presbytery and the taxations, and if a minute of a taxation says, this man is accepted, nobody can lab and erase that minute. That minute, it will go until it is changed with another. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow, I would love, we appreciate our panel better than we have done it. Before they rise up, normally when we have a panel, and there's an official panel, they will rise up, we will take a photo with them. I was the moderator of the panel. So we stand here for our photo officially, and we can move down our masks. And thank you that you contributed from the floor, but the discussion, the dialogue continues. Thank you. Appreciate the panel again. With our guest speaker, Dr. Dairo, for engaging us from a systematic theologian approach, where you systematize the hard and the sharp beds. Na kuonyesha vile utazunguka mpaka upate pare. So you systematize. Thank you, Rev. Dairo, praying and also preparing. And since the next team is here with us, they have waited outside the Global Leadership Summit. We could have loved to go on another part of the panel. We may be having another panel possibly tomorrow afternoon is a group discussion. We will break out for tea. Tea will not be served at the hotel. It is right here in the tents. And we'll be asking our mom, Mrs. Aris Kamal, kindly. She'll pray. I know the worship team is ready. Then we serve tea. We give ourselves how many?